My son was trapped in a fire, but I didn't ask my already arrived husband for help. Instead, I hooked up the fire hose and charged into the blaze myself. In my previous life, I had to threaten self-harm before my husband, then the fire chief, agreed to save our son first. But his beloved white Moonlight and her daughter fell to their deaths from upstairs. He showed no emotion, yet on our wedding anniversary a year later, he tied me and our son up, doused the house in gasoline, and burned us alive. When I opened my eyes again, it was the day of the fire. But this time, my son didn't scream for his dad, he started saving himself. Turns out, my son had been reborn with me. Chapter 1. The sharp wail of a fire truck shattered the calm of the early morning. Just like last time, I was the first to arrive at the kindergarten. What are you doing opening the hydrant? You can't just act on your own like that. The person pulling me back was none other than the kindergarten director, Monica. In my previous life, a wrong decision had cost both me and my son our lives. This time, I didn't call my husband, who happens to be the fire chief, for help. Instead, I immediately opened the hydrant myself. I'm certified in fire safety too, and under these circumstances, I acted quickly and efficiently. What I didn't expect was that Director Monica would rush over to stop me as soon as she saw me trying to fight the fire myself. Monica has worked at this kindergarten for decades, and her daughter, Laura, is also a teacher here. Laura happens to be my son's homeroom teacher. She was the one who called me about the fire. This time, I arrived earlier than I did in my past life. Sure enough, the fire started in my son's classroom. All the kids were still inside. Desperate, I pleaded, "Director Monica, the senior class is in real danger. The fire is the worst in their room. If they don't get out now, they'll suffocate." But Monica still held on to my wrist, her expression calm as she said, "Don't be an alarmist. It's just a minor incident. The teacher is in there with the children. They've had proper training and know how to protect them." Other teachers gathered around as they saw me struggling with Monica, whispering and pointing fingers. This mother, just because you want to save your own kid first, doesn't mean you can ignore everyone else. The firefighters are already here. Do you really think you're more qualified than them? Yes. The fire crew had arrived, and my son's biological father was among them. He was leading the operation, just like he had in the previous life. Sam, my ex-husband and the fire chief, responded swiftly and was coordinating the rescue. The fire was on the 3rd floor, but his first priority was the 4th floor, which wasn't even affected by flames. That's where Laura and her mother Monica were, waiting in the unused art room for rescue. I looked up toward my son's classroom. I saw a familiar camo jacket appear at the hallway window. It was my son. They had escaped from the burning classroom, but the flames on the staircase blocked their way out. Now, they were trapped in the hallway with no way forward or back. My palms were sweating with panic as I fought Monica for the fire hose. "I'm begging you. Look, they've made it out of the classroom. The fire is blocking both ends. If we wait any longer, the smoke will kill them. Let me put out the fire on the stairs and get them out." Monica glanced up and still held my wrist firmly, her voice eerily calm. "There are water outlets in the hallway. They'll cover their noses and wait for rescue. The stairs are already on fire. If you tell them to escape through there now, do you want them to get burned? Can't you see the firefighters are already working? Looks like they plan to rescue them through the windows in the corridor." But the firefighters weren't even heading to the 3rd floor. Watching the flames grow larger and larger, my heart felt like it was being thrown into a pot of boiling oil. From the 3rd floor, I heard my son's tender voice call out, "Mom, help us!" This time, he wasn't calling for his dad, he was calling for me. I looked up and saw him start throwing random items out the window to draw attention. Isn't that what I taught him to do in case of a fire? So, my son had come back with me too. In my past life, when I got the call from Laura and rushed to the kindergarten, the fire crew had already set up ladders outside. I realized then that they had no intention of going to the 3rd floor. I knelt in front of them, blocking their way, smashing my head on the ground until it bled, begging with my life. Only then, with the help of other firefighters backing me up, did Sam finally change his mind and head for the 3rd floor. The children had just been rescued when the kitchen on the 3rd floor exploded. In seconds, flames engulfed the entire floor. The kids narrowly escaped death, while Laura and her daughter, who had stubbornly stayed seated on the windowsill, were thrown off by the blast and fell to their deaths. Based on what happened before, there's less than 20 minutes until the explosion. I have to get my son out of there. Chapter 2. Director Monica was still holding me back. Time was running out. I clenched my jaw and shoved her aside. She wasn't as strong as me and fell to the ground. I rushed to connect the fire hose to the hydrant and aimed the nozzle at the burning stairs. In my last life, after we finally put out the fire, everyone realized that the flames on the stairs weren't even that bad. If we'd extinguished that fire earlier, the kids would have escaped down the stairs safely. Just wait a bit longer. Son, Mama's coming for you. I turned on the water gun, but nothing came out. My heart sank. I ran back and hooked the hose to another hydrant, quickly setting up the nozzle again. Still, not a drop of water came out. The hydrants in this kindergarten, they're broken, I shouted in disbelief. Director Monica fired back without hesitation. I told you not to act on your own. You should follow the firefighter's orders. I threw down the useless hose and rushed downstairs, frantically looking for a fire extinguisher. On the playground, one of the firefighters saw me and called out, "Hey, sis-in-law, what are you doing here?" I turned and saw it was Bruno, the most senior member of the team after my husband. I grabbed his arm, desperate. "Quick! Give me a set of firefighting gear, I need to get in there and save them." Bruno looked confused and tried to reason with me. "Sis-in-law, it's dangerous in there. Let us handle it, okay?" I dropped to my knees. "You know I'm trained too. There must be backup gear in the truck. Please, give me a set." Bruno hesitated. I can't. Not without the captain's orders. There's no time. I pleaded. The kitchen is on the 3rd floor. If we delay even a bit longer, it's going to explode. In my last life, Bruno was the calmest one. He was the one who convinced Sam to change the rescue route, even if he can't give me the equipment this time. Once he hears about the risk of an explosion, I know he won't just sit by. Bruno's eyes widened in shock. He started to panic. "But we asked the director earlier and she didn't tell us any of that." "No way. I'll go get the captain now. You get to safety." He ran toward Sam. "Captain, the 3rd floor has the worst fire. The source seems to be the kitchen. We need to go there first." Sam barked back, annoyed. "What do you know? The 4th floor is more dangerous. They're suffering from the most heat and smoke. Plus, they're already on the windowsill. If we wait, they'll fall." Laura was hugging her daughter, sitting on the windowsill. Their legs dangled outside with nothing to grab onto. Her little girl had never seen anything like this and was struggling in her arms. They really could fall at any moment. Bruno was drenched in sweat, insisting, "But the kitchen is on the 3rd floor. If the gas comes into contact with the fire, it could explode at any second." Sam paused, visibly shaken, but when he saw Lara's helpless face, he snapped back. "I know what I'm doing. Move fast, don't waste time." "But your wife's headed to the 3rd floor too. And your son, isn't he at this kindergarten?" "Shut up. I'm in charge here. Are you following orders or not? If not, get the hell out of my sight." I saw the frustration on Bruno's face and knew I couldn't count on him anymore either. The cries from my son's class were growing weaker. The kids were probably choking on the smoke already. I sped up, classroom by classroom, throwing open doors on the 1st floor. Finally, I found them, a pile of fire extinguishers in the surveillance room. Chapter 3. Director Monica kept following me, blocking me inside the surveillance room. "Why won't you listen? You're completely disrupting the firefighting efforts." Just moments ago, I had pushed Monica to the ground. Now the other teachers had caught up and surrounded me. "How could you push her like that? She's old. Do you even care? What exactly are you trying to do? If something happens to the kids because of your chaos, can you live with that?" I glared at them and snapped. "I'm trying to put out the fire, not cause chaos. You're the ones blocking me. What are you trying to do?" My desperation must have gotten through a little. Some of them looked hesitant now. One of the surveillance machines was still working. On the screen, I could see my son leading the kids away from the kitchen, toward the far end of the hallway. Looks like he'd warned the teacher about the risk of an explosion. They had covered their mouths and noses with clothes and were huddled next to the bathroom closest to the stairs. All I needed to do was put out the fire on the stairs, then they could escape immediately. "The kids are barely holding on. Are you really just going to stand here and do nothing? The teachers stared at the screen, tense murmurs spreading among them as they wavered. Then suddenly, a teacher ran in, breathless. The fire chief gave orders, everyone needs to evacuate immediately. It's too dangerous in here. No one is allowed back inside until backup arrives. He said someone was already interfering with their rescue efforts. All eyes turned to me. I was completely surrounded now. Sam, you won't save our son, and now you won't even let me? Monica turned to me and said coldly. If you run into the flames recklessly and something happens, who's going to be responsible? The teachers grabbed me again. That's right. The chief made it clear, we're to stop anyone from going in. For the safety of all the children, we can't let you act impulsively. My hands began to tremble. My son didn't have much time left. They were wasting precious minutes. They were killing him by doing nothing. Desperate, I cried out. I'm certified. I have my firefighter license. I'm qualified to go in if I just have the equipment. But no one was listening anymore. They wouldn't budge. Time ticked by. I couldn't hold back the tears as I clutched the fire extinguisher and tried to push through them again and again. I kept struggling, but my strength was fading. And then, where's my child? Where is he? A tall, strong man suddenly forced his way through the crowd. Chapter 4. The man shouted anxiously. The ones who got out through the main entrance, my son wasn't among them. Is he still inside? Director Monica quickly responded. The fire crew is already rescuing the children. Please, sir, try to stay calm. The man had already stormed up to the director and shouted furiously. How can you say that? There's a fire and you're not even panicking? Before Director Monica could reply, a crowd of parents followed him in. The strength of the parents quickly overwhelmed the teachers. They all pushed into the surveillance room at once. Ah, that's my daughter Roma. Why is she still trapped inside? My kid's in there too. Why hasn't anyone gone in yet? There's so much smoke, they won't hold on much longer. Roma's mother saw me, tear-streaked and exhausted. Ethan's mom. What's going on? I immediately shouted. They stopped me from putting out the fire. The third floor is about to explode. If we just put out the flames in the hallway, we can save them. The parents were desperate. There wasn't a second of hesitation. There are fire extinguishers here. Let's go together. But Monica tried to block us again. If there's going to be an explosion, then you definitely shouldn't act recklessly. The fire crew is already on it. There's no time to wait, I cried, handing out extinguishers. The fire crew went to the fourth floor. No one is going to the third. We have to do it ourselves. The parents rushed out. The teachers tried to stop them again, standing with the director. Everyone, please calm down. It's too dangerous. But the parents had had enough. This is murder. Do you understand? Get the hell out of the way. If anyone dares stop me from saving my child, I'll kill them myself. The man in front didn't hold back. He threw a punch and knocked Monica to the ground. The rest of the teachers stood frozen, afraid to get in the way again. Together, we all ran toward the stairwell. Too much time had already been wasted. I had no time to suit up or prepare. I twisted open the extinguisher and rushed ahead of everyone. The other parents followed my lead, activating their extinguishers one by one. Meanwhile, on the other side of the building, Sam had already rescued Laura and her daughter, carrying them to safety from the danger zone. But in front of us, those roaring flames began to die down under the fierce determination of a group of parents who would die for their kids. Step by step, we advanced. The hallway was only 10 meters long, but it felt like miles. Then, through the smoke, a tiny hand reached out. I grabbed it without even checking whose child it was and passed them back. Behind me, strong arms received the child safely. In less than 5 minutes, every single child was out. Thank goodness my son had led them early to the stairs. They bought themselves precious time. Just as we exited safely, the explosion hit. Sam stood off to the side, holding Laura and her daughter in his arms, watching everything unfold like it was a show. My 6-year-old son clung to me tightly, his voice full of worry as the medics arrived and bandaged my hands. Mama, this time, we didn't need Daddy. I turned to look at Sam and Laura. Sam didn't even spare a glance for me or our son. Laura, pointing toward me, whispered to Sam, I know how the fire started. I have evidence. Laura was a teacher here, and Sam's first love from 10 years ago. When Ethan started kindergarten, she and Sam had a coincidental reunion. Sam had been with me for 10 years. The man everyone thought was a great husband and devoted father. I never once suspected him. Who would have thought that in a real fire? He'd save them first, and that even in death. He would want me and our son to pay the price for them. If I hadn't threatened the fire crew with my life in the last life. If I hadn't known anything about firefighting. If I had just been a mother acting on instinct, then the only ones who would have died in this fire would have been my son's entire class. After all, it was Laura who called me this morning, and I just happened to arrive when my son's class caught fire. I held my son tightly. I had almost lost him again in this life. Ethan, how did the fire start in your classroom? Ethan sobbed. It was the cubby where we put our backpacks. That's where the fire started. My teacher touched my backpack again. I remember she did that last time too. Ethan cried. This time, I woke up and wouldn't let her touch it. But she scolded me and still grabbed it away. My heart skipped a beat. I suddenly recalled what Laura had whispered to Sam earlier, and that phone call she made to me this morning. Was all of this connected? I quickly called our nanny at home, confirmed a few details, and everything fell into place. Then I made several more calls, arranging everything. Only then did I put my phone away, ready to watch them put on their show. Chapter 5. After the firefighters extinguished the flames, everyone gathered on the playground, covered in ash and soot. The fire and explosion at the kindergarten had stirred up a huge storm. Many parents rushed over, taking emergency leave from work. Even grandparents arrived, shaking with worry, some leaning on canes, clutching each other for support. You must investigate this thoroughly. We want answers. This wasn't just a fire, there was an explosion. Just then, Laura, who had been hiding behind Sam, stepped forward, with tearful eyes and a trembling voice, loud enough for everyone to hear. She turned to Director Monica and cried out, "Mom! Director! It's all my fault. I found something dangerous in Ethan's backpack. I just called his mom to warn her, but I never imagined it would still cause a fire." The parents grew restless. They demanded, "What do you mean dangerous? Speak clearly." Laura wiped her tears and replied, "There was a hydrogen-powered glow capsule inside his backpack. It used batteries. But the battery was leaking. It was a serious hazard." Sam frowned. That was basically like putting a time bomb near the children. Leaking batteries could easily trigger spontaneous combustion. Seeing the parents grow angry, Laura continued, "I reported it as soon as I noticed it. I called his mom right away, but it was still too late." Sam then turned toward me and our son, frowning deeply. "Miriam, we studied fire safety together. You even got certified. How could you give your son something like that and let him take it to school, wearing his fire chief uniform?" His words carried weight. Almost immediately, everyone turned to look at me with suspicion. They were convinced the fire had been caused by me and Ethan. But at that exact moment, the chief of the municipal fire department arrived at the kindergarten with his team. I had reported the case to him myself. I told him someone was deliberately setting a fire at a kindergarten and trying to destroy the evidence, with hundreds of children's lives at stake. He had no choice but to show up in person. At the same time, I had also contacted my close friend, Chief Angelo from the police department. He and his officers were on their way as well. In my past life, when Laura and her daughter died, Sam kept quiet about the cause of the fire, and I never pressed him for answers. But this time, I would not stay silent. Let's see these wolves in sheep's clothing get exposed right here, in front of everyone. Chapter 6. The parents surrounded me. Just as I was about to speak and explain, Laura jumped in ahead of me. "Ethan's mom, how could you be so careless? How could you let your child play with something like that?" Tears welled up in her eyes as she said dramatically, "So many children's lives were in your hands. My daughter and I almost died just now." Then Director Monica stepped forward as well. "Ethan's mom, your behavior was completely unacceptable. You even interfered with the rescue operations. You need to take responsibility for what you've done." The crowd erupted in anger. One furious father lost control and stormed toward me, raising his hand to slap me, but someone caught his wrist in midair. I turned to see it was one of the parents who had gone into the burning building with me. He stepped in front of me protectively and said firmly, "You just got here. You don't know what happened." when the fire broke out. It was Ethan's mom who led us in to fight the flames. If it weren't for her, all the children would have died in that explosion. I gave him a grateful nod, but others still looked skeptical. Didn't the director just say she interfered with the rescue? Roma's mom, who had also been in the surveillance room earlier, stepped up. Everyone, listen, Ethan's mom never disrupted the rescue efforts. We were there with her. She acted fast and bravely. The parents finally began to calm down. I turned to Sam and said coldly, "If you're accusing me of interfering, then as the fire chief, tell everyone exactly which floor was I stopping you from rescuing?" Sam didn't hesitate. Fire is fire. What matters is putting it out. Does it matter which floor? I pressed him further. So you only went to the 4th floor, right? What do you mean only the 4th? We put out the fire on the 3rd floor too. I let out a cold laugh. After all these years together, I'd never realized Sam could lie so boldly in front of a crowd. That was after the explosion. Before the blast, where did you go? We went to the 4th floor. So what? There were people trapped there too. But there was no fire on the 4th floor. The more Sam explained, the more obvious it became. The truth hit the parents like a brick wall. So the fire department ignored the actual fire on the 3rd floor? No wonder the explosion happened. Monica quickly stepped into cover for them. Everyone, please, stop blaming the firefighters. The situation was urgent. There were people already on the windowsill on the 4th floor. How could they ignore that? Until now, everyone had seen Monica as a reliable figure, a veteran educator. Given her age and position, they'd been patient and respectful despite what happened. But I stared her down and said sharply, "Urgent situation? Then let me ask you, did you clearly tell the firefighters the kitchen was on the 3rd floor? Did you know that hiding this kind of information would lead to a fatal mistake in judgment?" Monica's face flushed with embarrassment. She stammered, I just got confused. That's all. But everything's fine now, isn't it? The parents were no longer calm. Director, how could you keep something like that to yourself? The kids nearly died. Then it wasn't the fire crew's fault. The info they had was wrong. I cut in coldly, pointing at Sam. The fire chief knew the truth later, and still refused to go to the 3rd floor. Isn't that right? Chapter 7. The parents surged forward, shoving both the director and Sam. You two were completely irresponsible. We trusted the kindergarten with our children, and the director almost got them killed? I heard the ones trapped on the 4th floor were Director Monica's daughter Laura and her granddaughter. No wonder she pushed the firefighters to go there first. You firefighters were reckless. We're going to sue you. This isn't over. Neglecting lives. One lied. One refused to act. Monica put her daughter first. Sam put his long-lost love above everything. They abandoned all the other children in the face of fire. Sam stepped in front of Monica and shouted, "I was in charge on site. I decide who's in more danger. So now, even Lara's mom was going to protect her?" The crowd dragged the two of them back and forth in anger. I stood quietly with Ethan, heart bleeding. In Ethan's eyes, his father had abandoned him twice, each time, to save someone else. Just then, the chief of the fire department finished inspecting the scene and walked over. He looked at Sam and said coldly, "Sam, you've really let me down. And who gave you the right to decide who gets rescued first in a fire?" Other firefighters stepped forward. "Bruno, you're the deputy chief. What are you doing? Rescue orders should be based on fire intensity and potential risk. Have you thrown away all those years of firefighting experience?" Bruno wiped his face with a soot-covered hand. His head lowered in frustration. "Chief, punish me. I should have forced everyone to go save the kids. I shouldn't have followed the captain's lead." I really couldn't be sure if his decision was right or wrong, because I never imagined the captain would abandon his own wife and child, that he'd make such a terrible call. The moment he said it, the parents exchanged shocked looks. The fire chief's own wife and son were on the 3rd floor, and he didn't even try to save them? Ethan couldn't hold it in anymore. He broke down in tears. "Daddy, why didn't you come for me? Why did you try to kill me? Was Ethan a bad boy? Why don't you want me? If you don't want me, I don't want you either. He's just 6 years old. How could any child bear being abandoned by his own father, twice?" "Shut up. Stop causing trouble. Sam suddenly roared at us in frustration. Miriam, just look at what kind of child you've raised. Ethan flinched in fear and shrank behind me. I quickly scooped him into my arms, gently comforting him. Ethan, baby, you did nothing wrong. It's not your fault. It's the bad people's fault. If Daddy doesn't want you, Mommy still does, and always will. Everyone around us looked shocked. Roma's mom came over and comforted me. How could you treat your wife and child like this? They almost died. One sharp-eyed parent suddenly shouted. Hey, Ethan's dad, you were holding that teacher the whole time. What exactly is your relationship with her? Did you abandon your son to save your mistress? You're not even human. Another parent joined in. And you, director, how could you let your daughter become the other woman? When Ethan's mom tried to help fight the fire, you and the teacher stopped us all. She was crying, begging you. The teachers grew nervous. We didn't know. We were just following the director's instructions. Director Monica quickly blurted out. I only wanted to keep parents safe. It was dangerous in there. It was Ethan's mom. She was being reckless and insisted on running into the fire. I tried so hard to stop her. She even knocked me down, an old woman with brittle bones. She made herself sound like the perfect, selfless protector, covering her negligence while painting herself as a victim. But she miscalculated. The parents weren't buying it. That's a lie. Ethan's mom was saving those kids. I'd been wondering all along, why had Monica been so desperate to stop me? A faulty hydrant at a kindergarten? Practically impossible. Fire departments conduct routine checks every month. Even if something was broken, it would have been fixed immediately. Lara's face flushed, alternating between red and pale as the accusations flew. Enough, she shouted. Ethan's mom is just trying to distract everyone. Don't forget, who started the fire in the first place? They're the ones responsible, that mother and son. The fire department chief nodded toward the arriving inspectors. One of them stepped forward, holding 2 evidence bags. Chief, the investigation team has completed an expedited inspection. The cause of the fire has now been confirmed. Lara turned to look at me, full of confidence. Chapter 8. This here, the investigator said, holding up a charred piece of fabric, is the burnt remains of a classmate's backpack. Based on the burn pattern, it appears to be the initial ignition point. The parents who had just been on my side all gasped. The fire department chief asked, Can you identify the cause of ignition? Yes, sir. Based on the residue analysis, we can conclude that the fire started due to a battery leak that spontaneously combusted under high temperature. The reaction with hydrogen caused the fire to escalate rapidly. It was exactly what Lara had claimed earlier. Unable to contain herself, she shoved my shoulder. See? I told you it was your fault this fire started. I stumbled slightly from her push. The parents looked upset but remained silent. I looked at Lara and replied calmly. Even if the cause is just as you said, that only proves you're very familiar with the incident details. But who can prove the backpack belonged to my son? Reporting. Chief, the investigator continued. Based on our comparison, the backpack was placed inside a cubby assigned to a child named Ethan. A wave of shock, disbelief, and outrage swept through the parents. One who hadn't helped with the rescue was the first to speak. Ethan's mom. Even if you hate the mistress, you shouldn't take it out on others. The children are innocent. There was even an explosion today. So many kids and teachers could have died. Seeing the situation, the fire chief ordered that Ethan and I be taken aside for questioning. But I stepped back calmly and raised my voice to everyone. Do you really believe my son and I started this fire? What are you trying to say? There's clear evidence. Are you still trying to deny it? Lara sneered. My advice, admit the truth. Maybe with a good attitude, you'll get fewer years in prison. Stop wasting time. Lock her up already. She's just a bitter woman, dumped by her husband, out for revenge. Who knows what else she's capable of? Many of the parents were furious. If the fire chief weren't here, I probably would have been torn apart on the spot. But some of the parents who had fought the fire with me stood firm, shielding me from the angry crowd. Roma's mom grabbed my hand. Ethan's mom. Everyone thinks you did this on purpose. You need to explain. I turned to the crowd. Does anyone have actual proof that the contents of Ethan's backpack belong to us? Is it not possible that someone else put them in? Lara stepped forward. Oh, please. Are you trying to say it was me? Yes, I replied, coolly. It was you. You're slandering me. Those things were bought online. If they weren't yours, show us the purchase history. I smiled and opened my purchase records on my phone. Sure enough, the toys and cheap batteries had been ordered under my name, delivered to my residential pickup station just a few days ago. Laura. You really planned this setup carefully, didn't you? I turned to the chief. Then what about the second fire? The one in the hallway? Another investigator lifted a second evidence bag. The hallway fire had the same cause, battery leakage under high heat. I stared at the crowd. What now? Did my son run around tossing batteries into the hallway to start a second fire? Laura was speechless. Monica, the director, suddenly jumped in. Well, it's not impossible. Ethan is a very naughty boy. Maybe he threw the batteries into the trash. Maybe that's what ignited the hallway. How do you know the batteries were found in the trash? The fire chief narrowed his eyes. Suspicious. With years of experience, he knew when someone had just slipped up. Suddenly, police sirens blared outside. Chief Angelo had finally arrived. He strode in and called out, Miriam, I've brought the evidence. Chapter 9. Chief Angelo took out his phone and played a video from the courier pickup point. On screen, Laura was clearly seen picking up a package and walking away. Based on the timestamp, Angelo said, that package matches the order of the toys and faulty batteries purchased online. Laura shouted in panic. That doesn't prove anything. She ordered it. The account's on her phone. Sam, hasn't your phone been logged into the shared shopping account this whole time? Sam snapped out of his daze. Yes. We use the same account. It's been logged in on my phone. Has your phone ever been out of your sight? Sam looked at Laura suspiciously. Laura, did you use my phone while I was in the shower? How could you do this? Ethan is my son. How could you try to kill him? The police began walking toward Laura. Seeing that even Sam no longer stood by her, Laura panicked and hid behind Director Monica. Monica stepped in, blocking the officers. Even if Laura ordered the toys and picked up the package, you can't prove she's the one who actually put those things in the bag. The elderly woman looked like she was ready to fight tooth and nail. Not only did she shield Laura, she even tried to pull on the officer's arm. You all think just because her husband passed away, you can bully a widow and orphan? I won't let you falsely accuse her. So Lara's husband had died. No wonder she was desperate enough to take such risks for Sam. Ethan stepped forward. Those things weren't mine. The teacher touched my backpack. She put them in. Laura lost her temper when even a child dared to confront her. You little brat. Stop lying. Who can prove I ever touched your backpack? I never even got near it. Most of the evidence had been burned. The classroom security footage was destroyed. Even fingerprints were reduced to ashes. Laura thought there was no way anyone could prove anything now. Although all signs pointed to Laura, whether she touched Ethan's backpack was the key. If I had proof? I stared her down. Just then, a phone rang. A recording began to play from the officer's speaker. Familiar voices echoed loud and clear. You little bastard. Get out of my way. Give me your backpack. Don't touch it. Somebody help. The teacher is stealing my backpack. Nobody's in the classroom right now. Who's gonna help you? Huh? Let go. There was the sound of a scuffle, and then Ethan's crying. She must have pushed him. Next came rustling, a zipper unzipping and zipping again. Then Lara's voice. You little bastard. Just like your awful mother. I put the bag on the shelf. Don't touch it. Go outside and do exercises with the others. Ethan was too young to understand, but everyone else in the room did. The hatred in the parents' eyes exploded. They surged forward, surrounding Laura and Monica with furious curses. Even surrounded, Laura still yelled at me. Miriam, you're despicable. I looked at her coldly. Despicable? I gave my son a recording device because he kept getting hurt at school. I wanted to know what was really going on. You thought once everything burned, there'd be no evidence. You didn't expect the recorder was synced with our home system. Every file uploaded instantly. What she really didn't expect was that Ethan had returned with memories of the past and had tried to stop her from touching his bag. That's why the recorder was triggered. An officer stepped forward and cuffed Laura. This is what we call the net of justice is vast and tight. Laura, you are now under arrest for arson. No, I didn't start the fire, even if I put those things there. I didn't cause the explosion." She was still struggling. At that moment, more officers and firefighters approached with a new bag of evidence. Chapter 10. Chief, one firefighter reported. "We found a heat pack in the director's office. It matches exactly with the fragments discovered at the scene. We suspect the heat released by this item caused the batteries to ignite." Director Monica lunged forward, trying to snatch the evidence bag, but was tackled to the ground by police. "That's mine. I'm old and afraid of the cold. I use those heat packs for myself." "Oh, really?" the officer retorted. "Because the same type of heat pack was found in the hallway and inside the backpack. And you somehow knew where the hallway batteries were found, buried under trash. How do you explain that?" Laura turned toward Monica in a daze, then suddenly shouted, "No! I took the heat packs. It has nothing to do with my mom. I wasn't going to let them off easy." "Then who's going to explain why the fire hydrants had no water?" The officer glanced at the teachers coldly. Tampering with fire hydrants is no different from arson. If anyone's thinking about covering for someone, think again. The old janitor suddenly stepped forward in a panic. "I remember now. I saw the director messing with the hydrants. I thought she was checking them. I didn't realize she was sabotaging them." That was the last straw. The enraged parents could no longer hold back. Fists came crashing down on Monica and Laura. The grandparents of the children even spat on them in fury. It took all the officers' effort to pull them from the mob. Monica and Laura thought they were finally saved. Smiles of relief crept onto their faces. But the officers' next move wiped those smiles away. In the next second, 2 cold handcuffs clicked shut around their wrists as they were shoved into the police car, surrounded by the curses of furious parents. Lara's daughter chased behind the car, crying for her mother, now an orphan, with no family left. It turns out Director Monica had raised Laura alone as a single mother, and now, Lara's daughter's future was left uncertain. Just before she was taken away, Laura turned and glared at me venomously. "Miriam, don't think you've won. Sam never loved you. He was screwing me while telling me how sick of you he was." Slap! Sam's hand landed hard across her face. "You filthy whore! I protected you, and you ruined me." He raised his hand to hit her again, but the fire chief stopped him. "Sam," the chief said sternly, "you let your selfish desires cloud your judgment during a rescue. You'll be held accountable. Prepare to do time." As Sam was led away, Ethan clung to me and whispered, "Mommy, I don't want that kind of dad." And I held him tight. That kind of beast doesn't deserve to be Ethan's father. He doesn't even deserve to be called human. After the arrests, the police sealed the kindergarten. The teachers, now crying, wailed in despair. "We didn't know anything. We're innocent. Now we're going to lose our jobs." But the parents snapped back. "Innocent? You followed orders blindly and let monsters hurt our kids. You're lucky we didn't beat you too." The teachers scattered under the parents' rage. Later, Officer Angelo told me that Director Monica had confessed everything. At first, she tried to stop Laura when she learned Laura planned to start the fire. But Laura refused. She was determined to get rid of Ethan. The little obstacle standing between her and the status of fire captain's wife. She thought she could exploit kids' curiosity and the parents' ignorance. Frame Ethan and me for it all. Monica, helpless and swayed by her desire for Lara's happiness, agreed to set the second fire in the stairwell and sabotage the hydrant, trying to trap Ethan with no way out. And if I, his mother, died in the fire too? Even better. What they didn't expect was that I would fight back, or that the fire would spiral out of control and end in an explosion. At the trial, the courtroom was packed. Though no one had died, the judge considered the crime so severe that Monica and Laura were sentenced to life in prison. Sam got 5 years for dereliction of duty and obstructing justice. On top of that, for cheating during our marriage, he left with nothing. The other parents thanked me for saving their children. Roma's mom even grabbed my hand and said, "Take me with you to get a fire safety license too." The other parents who helped in the rescue all cheered. The children found a new kindergarten, and my Ethan, after everything, became my little man. "Mom," he said, "from now on, I'll protect you."